Today we're reviewing the 2023 Toyota Venza, a mid-size SUV that seems to be overlooked by shoppers for some reason. And that's really too bad because it's a pretty decent pick in the class. It benefits from great fuel economy and a luxurious interior. Before we jump headfirst into this review, do us a favor and hit those like and subscribe buttons below to get all of our latest reviews. This second generation Venza debuted back in 2021 after a 6-year hiatus. The previous Venza was sort of a cross between a minivan and a wagon with odd proportions and disappointing fuel economy and below average interior quality. It seems as though all of those drawbacks have been chucked out the window because that is certainly not the case here. This Venza is a real looker, and I think it could be mistaken for a Lexus. The front features cohesive styling that is much more attractive than other vehicles in Toyota's stable. I particularly like this curving trim element that incorporates the wraparound headlights. Below is a huge grille that is more in line with other Toyotas, but I think it's framed better here. The profile is perhaps the most distinctive part of the Venza, with plenty of sculpted curves and sharp creases to give it a sporty edge. The hatch tapers down towards the back, ending with this very distinctive point that houses the taillights. Personally, I think it's one of the most attractive vehicles from Toyota, along with the new Prius. But what do you think? Is the styling a winner in your book too? Let us know in the comments below. For 2023, the Venza adds a nightshade trim with dark accents, a new infotainment system, and for this mid-range XLE trim, it gains a larger touchscreen. The Venza is based on the same platform as the RAV4 hybrid, but you'd never guess that with the styling differences. It uses the same 2.5-liter 4-cylinder hybrid powertrain that produces 219 horsepower. It's paired with the continuously variable transmission, and all-wheel drive is standard on all models. These transmissions tend to be a bit lifeless, but they are very efficient. So let's see how it all comes together on the road. Right off the line, the Venza feels responsive, and that's thanks to the hybrid powertrain. It starts you off with electric propulsion, which is quicker to react than the gasoline engine, and that springs to life and adds power just a beat later. It'll accelerate to 60 miles an hour in 7.5 seconds, and that's a respectable time for an SUV in this class. The transition between electric and internal combustion is seamless. You'll hear the engine start up, but it's hard to tell when it starts pouring on the power. And that's pretty much what you want from a hybrid powertrain. The same holds true for the brakes. The initial pedal travel, well, that starts with brake regeneration, where it slows you down but also recharges the battery. Push a little harder into the pedal and then the brake pads engage, but you won't feel that handoff like you would with some of the older hybrids. The Venza may look like a Lexus from the outside and maybe even from this seat, but it's not quite as smooth or as quiet as a Lexus SUV. In that manner, the Venza sort of splits the difference between Lexus and the RAV4. You'll hear the engine if you call for more power, but it's not as coarse or as loud as it is in the RAV4. Now, the ride quality isn't as smooth or as compliant as a Lexus SUV either, but it is, I think, maybe a little softer, a little more compliant than the RAV4. You'll feel plenty of imperfections in the road surface, but even some of the larger potholes are kept from sending large jolts to the cabin. With this in mind, handling performance is adequate, but not at all sporty. The steering is also not all that precise or direct, and honestly, that seems appropriate for this Venza. It's not trying to be sporty. It focuses on comfort instead, and in that manner, I think it succeeds. When it comes to maneuverability though, the Venza could use some help. You need a lot more space to do a U-turn, so that means that multiple point turns are going to be a regular occurrence. And it can get a little tiring, especially in some of the tighter parking spots. And it's also not all that easy to tell where the boundaries are on this vehicle, especially with that pointed tail. So new owners should take their time getting used to it. Outward visibility is actually quite good. This roof pillar here is far enough away from me that it doesn't impede my view through sharp left turns in the slightest. Now this roof pillar here next to me, it's a little thick and it kind of keeps me from seeing if someone's driving my blind spot. But we do have blind spot monitors, but I also don't like relying on those. I'd rather have my own situational awareness. The view out the back, well, it's pretty limited, but it's also common for most SUVs. That just about covers my impressions on the road, so let's pull over and go over everything the interior has to offer. The Venza's cockpit is very similar to the RAV4, especially with this angular center stack here. They both come with a rather small 8-inch touchscreen in their base models, but when you get up to the higher trim levels like this XLE, you get this large 12.3-inch touchscreen. And it's also larger than the RAV4s when they get the upgrade. It does take a little time for the system to boot up, but once it's running, it's pretty quick to respond and the menus are logically designed. It's a huge improvement over previous Toyota infotainment systems, and it's aided by the inclusion of wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. With those being cord-free, I expect there to be a wireless charging pad, and there is one right here, and it's standard on all trims. As similar as the Venza is to the RAV4, it sets itself apart with much nicer interior materials. There are more soft touch surfaces where you're usually going to come in contact with, especially here in this center console where you're actually touching almost as much as the steering wheel. And there is plenty of space up front, as you'd expect, but that sense of space is enhanced by the airiness, especially this huge panoramic sunroof. And as an added bonus, boop, it goes opaque. Usually you'd have to go to BMW or Mercedes to get a feature like that, but it's kind of neat that Toyota added it. Doesn't seem all that necessary though, considering that you do have a regular sunshade in addition to that. When it comes to the seats, well, they're pretty comfortable. There's a lot of support. They are the same seats in the RAV4, but the materials are once again nicer. In addition to the phone charger that I mentioned before, you also have these moderately sized cup holders, and oddly enough, the seat heater controls are right here, kind of in front of the center armrest bin. Now the bin itself, well, it has this tray here, and also it's pretty deep, and you can fit a lot of stuff in there. As far as the door pockets are concerned, you can squeeze some of those larger water bottles in. I'm 5'10", sitting behind the driver's seat, which is set for me, and I have plenty of space. I have maybe an inch or so above my head, so maybe a slightly taller person would be fine back here too. You can see there's plenty of knee room and space under the front seat for my feet. Now you also have some USB-C chargers down here to keep you juiced up, as well as your individual vents. A lot of SUVs nowadays, especially family SUVs, you'll get harder plastics and maybe less quality parts back here, but that's not the case with the Venza. You have plenty of soft touch materials where you commonly come in contact with. And you also have this drop-down armrest with two cup holders. And now we're talking about the Venza's greatest drawback, cargo capacity. Behind the rear seats, you can only fit as much as 28.8 cubic feet of stuff. That is well below what you'd expect from a midsize SUV. By comparison, the Honda Passport can hold up to 41.2 cubic feet, while the VW Atlas Cross is at 40.3, and the Jeep Grand Cherokee can fit 37.7 cubic feet. The difference is as much as 40%, and that is significant. It's also worth noting that the Venza is not rated for towing, so don't rely on a trailer to make up for the small cargo space. But hey, at least you get a hands-free power liftgate. The Toyota Venza has a starting price right around $35,000 and climbs to almost $44,000 for the top limited trim. This mid-range XLE rings in just under $40,000. That compares well against the Volkswagen Atlas Cross Sport that has a similar base price but climbs to over $50,000 for its top trim. The Honda Passport is a bit pricier with its range from $42,000 to $47,000, while the Jeep Grand Cherokee climbs to almost $70,000. The Venza gains a huge advantage when it comes to fuel economy, and that's one of the main reasons why you'd take this route at all. It's estimated to return 40 mpg city, 37 mpg highway, and 39 mpg in combined miles. Even more impressive is how easy it is to achieve or exceed those numbers. To put that into perspective, the Honda Passport is rated at 21 mpg combined, while the Atlas Cross Sport and Jeep Grand Cherokee are estimated at 22 combined. It's worth noting that the Grand Cherokee is also available as a plug-in hybrid that can deliver up to 26 miles on electricity alone. Now, if you're looking for the most fuel efficient in this rather limited class, you can't do any better than this Venza. If you need the practicality of a larger cargo space, you'd probably be better served by one of the rivals I just listed. Of those, I'm leaning towards the Honda Passport, but I'd wait to see what's in store for 2024. I wouldn't be surprised if it's due for a redesign in line with the Honda Pilot. But what would you do? Are you drawn in by the Toyota Venza's shapely style? Are you willing to sacrifice cargo capacity in return? Or would you go for the Honda, VW, or Jeep? Let us know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons below, especially if you made it all the way to the end of this video. So we'll see you next time on the road.